What's going on, y'all? It's your host Omari back with a long overdue episode of the Student Athlete Show. It's been a minute, but I'm back. Thank y'all for tuning in. And the last couple of weeks, let me just give you guys an update. Been working really hard towards this trip that I've got coming up soon that's going to produce a little bit for the channel. I'll let you guys know what I have coming soon in just a second. But then I caught the 19, so lost my voice, really couldn't give you guys the energy that I wanted for the show, and my coverage of the NBA Finals just got derailed. So today I'm going to give you guys a look at what you can expect coming soon this summer from the Student Athlete Show now that the NBA season has come to an end. I'm going to give a few quick thoughts on the NBA Finals, and then we're going to talk about a really heated topic of debate that has sprouted up recently in the NBA discourse, and I'll just give a few thoughts on that. So here we are, and let's get into it. So coming soon for the Student Athlete Show. I've plugged it in at the end of a few of my recent videos, but now that the NBA season is over, we're going to be branching out and covering a few other sports. I'm a huge UFC guy, so there are some really good events coming up soon that I'll be covering for you all. I'm a closet NASCAR fan, and I got some events that I'm going to be going to soon, so I'm going to be vlogging those. Starting off on July 2nd, we've got UFC 276. We've got Israel Adesanya facing Jared Cannonier for the second time. Izzy right now is coming up on one of the top draws right now for the UFC. So I'm really excited to see him getting back in the ring after defeating Robert Whittaker for a second time and truly cementing himself as the UFC's middleweight champion. He's really undisputed right now, and he's getting towards the end of cleaning out the division. So let's see if Jared Cannonier can serve as a tall task for him. That's going to be a really heated card. There's also Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway facing off for the third time. The first two fights in that series, some of the best fights that we've had in UFC in the last 5 years. And I'm really excited for this third fight because Max Holloway, up until his fights with Alexander Volkanovski, has looked like the greatest featherweight fighter we've seen in the UFC. And the first two fights were as close as a fight can get, both of those fights going in Alexander Volkanovski's direction on the scoring cards. And I'm just really excited to see what Max Holloway can do because he's gone up and down the mountain a few times, looking to reclaim his featherweight glory. And I am a believer that he's won at least one of the last two fights against Volkanovski, and I do think Max Holloway still has something in the tank as a championship fighter, so I'm really excited for that one. And Miesha Tate and Sean O'Malley are also appearing on that card, two really popular names in the UFC community. In the beginning of July, I'm going to be headed home to Chicago, and I'm going to be doing my first Student Athlete Show interviews, where I'm going to interview a couple of guys that I played against in high school, some guys that went on to play college football, and we're just going to talk about the student athlete experience in college, how that affects your mindset, and what those guys are getting into now that sports is behind them in their lives. Going to be going to NASCAR's Cup Series event at Road America on July 3rd. Going to be vlogging that with a lifelong friend going to be with me on that video. And then we've got UFC Fight Night, Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez on July 16th. Those are some things to expect from me in the next coming weeks, in the next month. And then we also have Little League World Series in August, which is honestly a top 3 sporting event for me. I really get excited for Little League World Series to come around every year, so I'm excited to cover that for you all when August rolls around. So, as far as the NBA Finals, the Warriors got out of there in 6. They ended in Boston, one game short of what I expected to happen. And a lot of things that went on in that series were things that I was expecting to be the tipping points for both the Celtics and the Warriors. We really just saw the Warriors handle themselves like NBA champions. And we saw the Celtics look unexperienced. They really came in only the third team ever with 3 performances of 18 turnovers or more in an NBA Finals. Only the 5th team ever with a 22 turnover performance in the Finals. And those are really just tendencies of a really young, inexperienced team. A team that really still needs to iron out the wrinkles on their collaboration with each other and just meshing together as a team unit. I really think the Celtics could benefit this offseason in finding a guy that can be that primary decision maker in the offense. Best case scenario, a veteran guy, but even a younger guy. We just want someone out there that's going to be able to run the offense and distribute. Jason Tatum has done an amazing job over the last few seasons developing his playmaking abilities, but as the primary scorer, we don't want that to be his job as well. We've seen in the recent history of the NBA that when guys are the primary scorer and the decision maker on offense, you see guys like James Harden. We've seen it happen with Luka. Sometimes it becomes too much responsibility and too much wear and tear on a guy's body. So I'm looking for the Celtics to maybe get another guy in there, or maybe Marcus Smart can develop his game a little bit more. But it doesn't look like he's going to go into that playmaking role quietly, at least. The Golden State Warriors, um, a lot of people were saying that this wasn't going to be the Warriors' year. A lot of people thought that they were still maybe like a year or two away from returning to that championship glory because they have so many young guys on the team, so many guys that they acquired in these last couple years, not performing as well at the end of the season as they had previously. A lot of that due to injury, and they're getting those high draft picks. They've got James Wise, but Jordan Poole we saw have a breakout year. Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. A lot of people thought that all those young guys weren't going to be ready to uh, step up and produce towards a championship winning season. And a lot of people were feeling like Klay Thompson coming off of injury and just the trio of Steph, Clay, and Dre. They're getting up there. They're getting into their early 30s, and their bodies aren't what they used to be, and we have seen it begin to betray them. So a lot of people thought that the Warriors weren't going to be ready this season, and I think the fact that they were able to win this championship and kind of make it look easy on the way might spell trouble for the rest of the league next year. And I think the Warriors will have a really good shot at repeating. So as we get into the off season, as free agency starts to shake out, we'll see if there are any draft day trades at the NBA draft. Not much of an NBA draft guy myself because I think projecting those guys into the league is a really tall task, one that I don't have the audacity to try to step up to. As I said, the NBA discourse after this NBA Finals has been really interesting. And the biggest topic that I've seen discussed online right now is the question of, is Stephen Curry now a top 10 NBA player of all time? And it seems like the community answer to that question is yes. You see guys on ESPN First Take, see guys on Undisputed, First Things First. Um, I've seen guys on The Ringer, almost anywhere that you can find NBA discourse, on YouTube, on Twitter, online. Uh, Steph Curry is a top 10 NBA player of all time, without a question. After this ring, this finals MVP, he's there. He has to be. You see guys saying that they don't care who is in there, who's out of there. They just know that Steph Curry is in there. And I'm not so sure. I think we might need to pump the brakes on Steph Curry as a top 10 player in NBA history. And this isn't any disrespect to Stephen Curry. I do believe he's one of the most generational talents that we've seen of the past decade or so. And just the time that I've been an adult watching basketball. The reason that I'm questioning Steph boils down to 2 points: defense and dominance. I'm just going to read off some guys, the first guys that came to mind when you asked me who are the top 10 NBA players of all time. So you asked me who's in the top 10. I go easily Michael Jordan. LeBron James is in the question, or it is in there for sure. You have Larry Bird. You have Magic Johnson. You got Tim Duncan. You got Kobe Bryant. You got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You got Hakeem Olajuwon. You got Shaquille O'Neal. Those are the without a question guys for me, and that's in no order, but I'm already at 9 guys right there. 2 more guys that I think you at least have to check their IDs at the door: Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. So the first 9 guys are a lot easier to compare. Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain played back in the 60s, really early 70s, at a time where it's really hard to compare the NBA to the product that we have today. As far as what the game actually looks like on court, The dedication of the athletes. You see a lot of the memes going around that Will Chamberlain was playing against the milkman and the mailman and all that stuff. A little bit exaggerated, but you definitely did have a lot of guys back then who weren't able to put in the lifelong dedication into their bodies and into the games that you see guys putting in now. Then you also just have the fact that those guys were playing in a league where stats weren't kept as cleanly as they are now. Only 12 teams in the league at certain points. Only like 2 or 3 rounds in the playoffs before the finals. So those are guys we can put an asterisk next to their name. But let's talk about this first 9. First, I'm going to go into all NBA first team selections. Michael Jordan, 10 times first team All NBA. LeBron James, 13 times. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, both 9 times first team All NBA. Tim Duncan, 10-time first team All NBA. Kobe Bryant, 11 times. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 10 times. Shaquille O'Neal, 8 times. Hakeem Olajuwon, 6 times first team All NBA. Stephen Curry has made first team All NBA only 4 times in his career so far. And with Steph getting into his early 30s, and you have younger guys such as Devin Booker emerging right now. You have Luka Doncic, guys like Ja Morant. The guard pool right now in the NBA is really young and really productive. I can't guarantee that Steph Curry is going to get another first team All NBA selection. So when I'm looking at him and I'm looking at the rest of the guys on the list right now, Hakeem Olajuwon has the fewest first team All NBA selections of everyone else on the list with 6. Still 2 more selections than Steph Curry, which means 2 more seasons of top flight excellence from him with minimal injury. And Hakeem Olajuwon playing center in the NBA in the 90s, the era that they would call the golden age of the center, getting 6 All NBA selections in that time at a position where you only get 1 first team selection is really outstanding. You had Hakeem. Hakeem's prime overlaps with the beginning of Shaquille O'Neal's prime. Around the same time as Patrick Ewing, also played in the 90s with David Robinson. All these guys are, at very worst, top 25, top 30 players of all time, and all of them had to eat at the same time in the 90s. So with all that being said, Hakeem Olajuwon only had 6 first-team All-NBA selections. What that says to me, seeing all these guys going for nearly double-digit first-team selections, is that they had a really high peak and a very extended peak. And while Steph Curry has been excellent for his entire prime, it is hard to say that he has been head and shoulders above the other guys in the league at his position as an individual. Have the Warriors been very successful over these last 8 years? Yes. But can you say that every year Steph Curry was, without question, best point guard in the league? There are a lot of years where that's hard to say. Chris Paul gets a lot of hands raised in that conversation. You have James Harden, you have Devin Booker, you have Damian Lillard, you have Russell Westbrook, and all these guys ate in Steph's prime. Many of these guys have won MVPs in Steph's prime. These are the other guys getting first team All NBA. And like I said, with Luka Doncic, Devin Booker just got his first team selection this year, and Ja Morant's knocking on the door. Steph Curry's time might be up. Let's look at the other stats on this list, not including Will Chamberlain and Bill Russell. If you want to knock the guys from the older generation, that's fine. Maybe we do have room for Steph then. And I'm not saying he's not top 10, but I am saying that it's a really hard group to get into. Let's talk about finals MVPs. This year, Steph Curry gets his first finals MVP, and everybody goes crazy. Everybody loses their mind. Steph Curry has to be top 10 all time now. Well, Michael Jordan has 6 finals MVPs. LeBron James has 4. Larry Bird has 2. Magic Johnson has 3. Tim Duncan has 3 finals MVPs. Kobe Bryant has 2. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has 2. Hakeem Olajuwon has 2. And Shaquille O'Neal has 3 finals MVPs. Steph Curry might be in the club, but he's going to look around at the other guys in the club, and he's going to see that they got more bottles. They got more and the VIP section is looking kind of lit. Steph Curry's kind of standing over in the corner sipping on his whiskey. It's just a really interesting look. Now, let's say in the next few years, the Warriors drop another back to back. Let's say he even gets like two more titles. If he finishes with a couple more Finals MVPs, he's going to look a lot different standing next to these guys. He's going to still be really short on the All NBA selections. And let's talk about defense. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Tim Duncan, Kobe, Kareem, Hakeem, Shaquille O'Neal. That's 9. All of these guys at some point in their career were elite on both ends of the floor. Elite on offense, elite on defense. There's not a point in Steph Curry's career where you can say that he has been an elite defender. And if that was the end of that statement, I could justify it. But Stephen Curry, for most of his career, has been, a lot of people would say, a minus defender. A lot of people would say that he's a liability out there on defense. He has improved in his ability to create turnovers. He's led the league in steals once, but he's the only guy that would be on this list without any all-defense selections. You have Michael Jordan, 9 times first-team all-defense. LeBron James, 5 times first-team all-defense. Larry Bird, 3 times first-team all-defense. And, Magic Johnson never made an all-defense team, but I do believe he has a second-team selection. You've got Tim Duncan with 8 first-team all-defense selections. Kobe Bryant, 9. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 5. Hakeem Olajuwon, 5 all-defense first-team selections. And even Shaquille O'Neal with 3 times first-team all-defense. Shaquille O'Neal 3 times second-team all-defense. So the question of impact on both ends of the floor is a big hurdle for me in dropping Steph Curry into this top 10 discussion. I do believe he's knocking on the door, but I do think we might be a little bit early. I think it's also important to maybe one day have a conversation on what's the difference between greatness and best and ability. I also want to bring up the idea that maybe Steph Curry is just a cultural legend. Maybe he's just a cultural icon. Maybe in 5, 10, 15 years we'll talk about Steph